In this video, we're comparing Microsoft Corporation versus Meta Platforms, two companies from trillion-dollar club, best management, best execution, best margins, but which one is the better buy at this valuation? Which one has the strongest moat? Which one can deliver better return for the next 5 years? All these questions we'll be answering in this video. I promise you'll get tons of value from this video, so the only thing I need from you is please smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm and help the channel grow. Starting from revenue segments and revenue diversification for Microsoft. I promise I will not spend too much time on this segment because everybody knows how these companies makes money. Microsoft has three main segments: productivity and business processes, includes Office, LinkedIn, plus Dynamics. Intelligent cloud, this is Azure, cloud infrastructure, databases, AI services, and more personal computing. This includes Windows, Xbox, and Surface. Microsoft revenue is very diversified with 34 billion for productivity and business processes, 32 billion for intelligence cloud, and more personal computing 14 billion. With recent year, intelligent cloud is taking more and more market share in Microsoft revenue. Meanwhile, revenue for Meta is much more simple. Here we only have two segments: family of apps with $58.94 billion and Reality Labs with less than $1 billion. Family of apps includes, of course, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, and Reality Labs includes VR and AR like Quest headset and stuff. From the revenue diversification perspective, of course, Microsoft is winning here. Revenue is diversified between three segments. Microsoft also had advertising revenue, but it's not as large percentage of total revenue for Microsoft. Meanwhile, Meta's almost 98% of the revenue is advertising, which makes Meta a more cyclical company comparing to Microsoft. The revenue growth for both of these companies are absolutely outstanding, but we can see that Meta's revenue is growing faster comparing to Microsoft in all years except 2022. In 2022, we remember that Apple introduced the new privacy policy, which did not allow Meta to collect data from the iPhones, so they need to build the new algorithm to mine this data by their own. That's why the revenue for Meta significantly decelerated and even went negative, shrinking 1% in 2022. But then we see a rebound in the latest 3 years, and now Meta is leading again. So from the revenue growth perspective, Meta is absolute winner here. Meta is the younger company, Meta is growing faster compared to Microsoft. And what about revenue estimates for the future? Because one thing is a history, what happened before, but another question, which company will grow faster in the future? And here we can use revenue estimates. For Microsoft, we can see 16%, 15%, 16%, 15%, quite stable, in average around 15% for Microsoft. Meanwhile, for Meta, we have 25%, 18%, 16%, 13% deceleration later. So for Meta, we also have higher revenue growth estimates for the future years compared to Microsoft. But which company is more profitable? From the perspective of operating margin, Microsoft has 45% margin and Meta has 42% margins. And you can see the margins for these two companies are very, very close to each other. So I would say here, from the profitability perspective, almost equally here, both Microsoft and Meta absolutely outstanding operating margins. And what about free cash flow margins? Free cash flow margins is also very close to each other. Both companies significantly investing in AI, which leads to higher capex for both Microsoft because they have cloud units, so they need to invest in capex to build new capacity for their cloud Microsoft Azure unit. Meanwhile, Meta is not hyperscaler, but Meta also investing significantly into the capex. They are building their closed model now, and this closed model is quite good based on the benchmarks. So both free cash flow margins for Meta and Microsoft will be damaged in the future by high capex. But currently we can see that from the perspective of free cash flow margins, all of them are quite profitable with 25% and 23% respectively. Which company is cheaper from the valuation perspective? Currently, Meta is trading from the perspective of price to earnings of 28.82 times, and Microsoft is trading with 26.28 times. So price to earnings, Microsoft is cheaper. And for the price to free cash flow, Meta is trading at 37 times and Microsoft is trading at 40 times free cash flow. So very, very close on a valuation perspective here as well for both companies. Now we'll compare the projection for the next 5 years, which return on investment we can get by investing in these two companies today. So here we have Microsoft with, on a bearish case, we can get 17% in the next 5 years. On a base case, we get 56%. And on a bull case, we get 96%. Meanwhile, for Meta, on a bear case, we get 40%. On a base case, we get double in the next 5 years. And on a bull case, we get 138%. And here in InvestKit, we can simply sort by CAGR to understand which company in your projections are delivering the best return. Here on a CAGR, we are using base case for all the companies. So you can easily just sort and understand, okay, from the perspective of base case, where is the best return? It does not count on risk. So for example, here we can see Duolingo and Adobe and ServiceNow, 3 companies with the best return. But of course, all those companies has its own risk. But still, this is one of the best tool ever for long-term investors. We just run our projection, we just save the projection, and then later when we have some cash around, when we have some available liquidity to invest, we just get understanding which is the best opportunity as for right now. And we just, reevaluate our assumptions. Is there any new information which is breaking the thesis? And if this is not the case, we just invest in that companies. So if you find this feature valuable for your own investing journey, welcome to join InvestKit.io. You can create account and run all the projections for all US companies. Currently, we are doing beta tests and all premium features are available for free. Before I share my thoughts and conclusions which company is the best buy at current prices, let us see the reverse DCF. Reverse DCF is showing what is implied free cash flow growth priced into the current share price. For Microsoft, we have 18%. And for Meta, we have 15.71%. Now the question is, what is the free cash flow estimates growth for the future? And we do not have free cash flow estimates, but we have revenue estimates. So for the Microsoft, in average, we can see here a 15 to 16% for the next 5 years. Meanwhile, for Meta, it's higher with the next year of almost 25% and then 18%, 16%, and so on and so forth. So based on this scenario, I would say that Microsoft with 17% expected free cash flow growth looks more expensive comparing to Meta with only 16% growth for free cash flow expected for the next 10 years to justify the current price. Now my final thoughts, which I believe is the best buy. I think Microsoft business is much more diversified and it's much more stable company comparing to Meta, but I believe that Meta has better management with Zuckerberg is still very hungry. Zuckerberg is still very young and can run the company for another 20 years. He's very hungry to more achievements. He's very competitive. The projection for Meta is showing that I can get a better return for Meta platforms. Meanwhile, the valuation is almost the same. Profitability for both of these companies are very, very close to each other. Both of the companies are really, really nice. I own both companies in my portfolio, but my Meta position is significantly larger than Microsoft position. If you found value in this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.